and it wasn't about money.
Well, here's the thing. Jimmy said the big thing to me. He says, Pez, he says, you should move to New York. And this is in the 80s. He says, even if you have to spend like $200 a month for rent. Jimmy was out of touch at that point. Because when he moved to New York, it was like everything was really cheap. So he thought 200 was, at that time, it's like, in the late 80s, it was going up to, it was at least $1,000, $1,500. But Jimmy didn't know that. See? So to live there is prohibitive, you know. But in those days, yeah. I came to New York a couple of times. I came up with Lou Rawls in 1976 to play at the St. Regis for 2 weeks. You know, Lou, you know, it was a fancy schmancy gig, you know. And I'd go into town and people were playing and it was great. But I still couldn't, I didn't think I was good enough to make that scene at the time. Again, it's a self-perception thing. Larry Coryell used to always try to push me to move to New York, always. He'd call me up in Miami and say, what's wrong with you, man? The only thing Miami has to offer is heat.
And now he's down.
And now he's down. Well, don't think I don't tell him.
Right.
Hey, Mr. Tropical over there. Yeah, boom, boom, boom. He hates it. Well, he's there because he's got a daughter from a previous marriage that lives right in the area. And he wants to make up for him being an absentee father for his 2 kids. And he's like that. Larry means well. He means well. He kind of comes off in a kind of a fucked up way a lot of the time. Yeah. But he always thinks that he's trying to do the best thing.
That's the impression I get.
Yeah, he's always trying to do the right thing, but it comes off sometimes.
You know what his best line was? He said, he was talking about, you know, his recovery, and he said, it was kind of a Buddhist thing. He said, love your enemies, you made them.
Oh. Wow, that's a pretty cool one. I like that one. You
love
made
your
them.
enemies, you made
Yeah, then he calls you up and says, I'm writing another autobiography. It's going to be a tell-all book. I'm going to nail everybody. I said, oh, not feeling particularly Buddhist today, are we? Yes. But I was going to say about that. Yeah, come. The only thing Miami is that it's hot. But I was working a lot. I was working a ton, and that was my main focus. I wanted to work and have a lifestyle, you know. And the work was good. I mean, I used to work trio gigs with Jaco Pastorius and all these young good players in Miami at the time. Danny Gottlieb, Mark Egan. All these cats were working gigs, you know, and it was fun. Then it got a little weird, so up I came out of nowhere. So I'm trying to think of anything else that I have to say. You got questions?
I don't know. Maybe any specific gigs that stand out as
for me
being like fun or really, you know, fun and
memorable for me. Yeah, the first gig I got
music.
out of town was with Wayne Cochran and the CC Riders, and great 14-piece R&B band, and just a fantastic band. If you go on to the Jaco Pastorius site, and look up Rice Pudding.
Okay.
You'll hear us playing live at the Newport.
You're on that track.
Yeah, I just playing rhythm guitar, a few little things. But it was a 3-piece rhythm section, which means I had all that space to play all what they used to call moon chords that I played. I played moon chords. They're unusual. They liked it, but they didn't get it. Then they got to really love it. That was a breakout gig for me. I did that gig for a year, and boy, was it fun. You know.
Got an acoustic?
Huh?
You got an acoustic you can play?
I don't have one. I have an electric. I have one guitar.
Is it? It's a Gibson.
It's an electric, yeah.
Gibson.
It's a Gibson knockoff. It's better than a Gibson, yeah. So.
Do you have a little amp?
No, I don't want to plug it in. I'm too tired. I never play at home anymore. But look up that recording on internet. Pleasured Hands. You'll find it on Spotify.
You sound like Randy going, I don't want to play.
No, you can't get anybody to play in the house. Why? You're crazy.
It
feels funny.
Well, he would say, I hate music.
Jaco used to say that too. That was his phrase.
Randy would say, I hate music.
I hate music.
Or what do you think of music? And he would say, music is hell.
Well, it's kind of like being tied to a ringing telephone in a room full of mirrors. That's one of Joni Mitchell's little lyrics. Tethered to a ringing telephone in a room full of mirrors, and it can be like that. Like today, I feel like I should be practicing and learning something. You know, I used to do that. I got to learn something new every day. Now I sort of don't care. So, Mick Goodrick. Do you know Mick Goodrick?
No.
Okay.
What could you maybe just touch on the idea, like we were talking, that one of the major parts of Randy's expression was the idea of less is more.
Yeah.
And that you
Very
said that
much
you
so.
were kind of finding yourself kind of falling more and more into that.
I used to always think of it as two ways. I could do more is more or less is more. But it's like the Japanese thing where the space between the notes is just as important, if not more important, than the notes. The space between the notes is percussive. And when you start thinking in those terms, you start hearing that way. So I kind of drift into